So, welcome friends once again to the NPTEL module on strategic trade and protectionism theories and empirics. We are at the verge of the finishing lectures of the couple of lectures are left to finish the module. So, this is the lecture number 39. We are supposed to have 40 lectures, so only one more is left. So, we will complete on time and on its detailed discussions are made. So, here after completing functions and structures of WTO, we must understand where India stands. So, India stands in WTO and India's positioning in WTO must have been discussed in order to have a better clarity on India's strategies on WTO platform. So, therefore, this lecture is meant for clarifying India's position. In order to begin with India's position in strategic trade and protectionism, let us have a clear cut case, a recent case of disputes pertaining to goods and services and certain intellectual property contents of a particular dispute. Now, you can refer this case from the WTO website, the link is given here, and the case is let me give you the background to it. The case is actually pertaining to a film in India released with the music director of that film called Murder. Murder film was very famous in India. So, I am coming to this part. Let us open it and then there are lots of confusions relating to the song. Now, Bangladesh actually complained in the WTO platform against India that India has actually copied a song from Bangladesh movie. So, the problem here is the title as given in the case is Rock and Roll in Bangladesh protecting intellectual property rights in music. So, therefore, it is the case for IPR or trade related intellectual property rights, especially in music. Now, let me mention it very clearly that one of the newspaper of India, the Telegraph of Calcutta edition, on its very front page in 2004, 20 May 2004 mentioned that it is a daylight robbery in murder. So, daylight robbery in murder has screamed in that paper, screamed by the Bangladeshi rock band and against the very popular music director Anu Malik for its movie and its contributions to the movie called Murder, especially for a composition of a song. And they complained, the complaint was actually raised by a famous music band called Miles, Miles of Bangladesh. And in the front page they wrote that tune leaped in the Hindi movie Murder with the title It's Daylight Robbery in Murder. They accused the music director Anu Malik. They called a music mogul of Mumbai movie world for committing piracy of its original compositions. So, on receiving these particular messages, fans from United States, UK, Australia as well as in India, that their song of Bangladeshi music band called Miles, of their song called Firiye Dao Amar Prem. Firiye Dao Amar Prem was the song. In English it is called Give Me Back My Love. Had been copied in the soundtrack of Murder and especially mentioned by the members of that leading music band by Manam, Hamin and other members of the Miles, who collectively complained to this piracy. And they all sat down again to watch this movie again and try to capture the beats copied in that particular song. So, when the song Jana 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 was being played in the movie Murder, the band members could hardly believe their ears, and only the language was different in that particular song. Jana Jana Jana, a song of murder, was in Hindi. The lyrics are a study of ours, the tune is the same. So, even the beat breaks off, the use of guitar and fillers notes are the same. How could Anu Malik, such a finest music director, could do this? Could not able to believe, as wondered by Hamin, and Hamin is the guitarist and vocalist of the Miles. And even when a musician inspired by a song, he can only copy at maximum 8 measures. But this is a complete copy of Phir Dao, Amar Prem, as mentioned by Hamin, and also mentioned in the Bombay Times 18 July 2004. So, the Bengali song Phir Dao was actually composed by Miles, as I mentioned, for its music album called Prathasa. So, Prathasa in English it is called Hope, which was released in 1993, and it was also released in Bangladesh and Pakistan. So, and in 1997 the same song was also named as Bass Miles volume number 1, released by Asa Audio Company of Calcutta. It became very popular in Bangladesh as well as in West Bengal of India. Under such circumstances, copying and producing a Bangladeshi song without the right permission, right payment of loyalties payment of royalties is not only unethical, but also a blatant violation of its intellectual property rights, as mentioned and highlighted time to time in WTO negotiations. So, therefore, it hurts the particular case and business interests of Bangladeshi rock band Miles. And so, therefore, who are the players involved here? So, after approaching to the WTO members, the band members learned that they can claim protection for their work under the copyright and related rights provision of agreements under TRIPS, trade related property rights segment. So, the main provision on copyright related rights of TRIPS are contained in the Bonn and Rome Convention of WTO. In addition to that, this TRIPS agreement actually contains some related issues like computer programs and databases, rental rights to computer programs, sound recording and films, also part of the TRIPS, rights of performers, producers of phonograms, and rights of broadcasting organizations. So, those are also part of the TRIPS agreement. So, what are the outcome and the challenges? On the hearing of the petitions raised by the Miles, Honorable Justice S.K. Mukherjee took prima facie cognizance of the matter and passed an interim order on 19 May 2004. On his learned judgment, it was ordered to the respondent to remove the song from the soundtrack of the movie Murder. The court order barred the respondents from manufacturing, selling, distributing and marketing of any music cassette or disc containing the same song. So, Indian Copyright Act empowered the government to extend the benefit to of the act to the nationals of other countries as well, so far as the Indian Copyright Act is concerned. It extends other if India had entered a bilateral treaty with that particular country. This is the first condition. If India and the country concerned had been parties to the common international convention guaranteeing protection of IPR, Then if the Indian government was also satisfied that the country concerned had adopted measures to reciprocate similar protection of the workers of the Indian national, then only these kind of copying or these kind of matters would be discussed and quid pro quo actions would be taken. So, but the Bangladesh and India had never signed actually any bilateral agreement on this issue and been party to any common international convention related to the protection of property rights, especially in literary and artistic works before 1995. Before 1995, this was not actually have been the case for India and Bangladesh. So, Bangladesh never or India had never been in bilateral treaties, but since 1995 under the aegis of WTO, the provisions of IPR under WTO. So, and India, so according to that provisions, Bangladesh won't have the right to claim IPR protection of its citizens. I mean basically here we are saying that before 1995, since no such platform, no such bilateral treaty was made, so Bangladesh did not have any right to claim for its property rights, especially related to this complaint. But since both are the member countries of WTO since its formation of 1995, Indian Copyright Act was amended accordingly to make it compatible to the TRIPS agreement. So, but by availing themselves of the benefit of the provision laid down under WTO rules, which involves cost and challenges to the copyright owners of the Bangladesh. These were in terms of money, time, the costs are actually in terms of money, time, lack of information, uncertainty about the outcome, compensation and amount thereof. So, therefore, the WTO norm actually protects these cases. So, then what was the outcome and what kind of lessons were actually learned? Especially the Miles group or the members are very happy with the decision of the court, and in particular they were pleased not just because they get their copyright and they are also recognized and the recognitions are also promptly made. On the other hand, violators of the copyright have also learned that they cannot get away scot free after perpetrating such a infringement of others' copyright. So, therefore, it is also in learning to others. So, above all, this case upholds the fact that intellectual property rights and other property rights are inviolable. So, has to be maintained. So, in short, what we wanted to say, the complaint made by the Miles on the issue of of a song which is replaced by by another song in the movie Murder. The music composer Anu Malik had got a bigger lesson of or not copying more than 8 channels. There are many more channels by which things have been, I mean the tracks have been copied. So, therefore, the case was considered and many decisions were considered and taken. So, therefore, the music composer had to give huge penalty for that copyright. So, this is a good case so far as India's stand is concerned and so far as disputes settlement is concerned. Now, there are many other cases could have been discussed, but in short let me mention the United States appeals panel report regarding renewable energy measures. Renewable energy measures also there is a complaint made in 15th August. So, concerning WTO panel report in the case which was brought by India in United States, certain measures relating to the renewable energy sector with the code number DS 5.0. The panel report was circulated to WTO members on 27 June 2019, which is a very recent case. Similarly, another case is on members consider request for panels to review US safeguard on solar cells in Indian sugar sector. Another one is on United States initiates WTO disputes against Indian duties on US imports. Now, United States has requested WTO dispute consultations with India concerning additional duties applied by India on certain imports of US goods. The request was circulated to WTO members on July 4, 2019. Now, let us understand certain facts. India, where India posed with, the fonts are very less because of less space. So, I will mention some of the fact here. So far as ranks in world trade as per the 2018 data is concerned, merchandise exports and imports rank of India is 19 in exports, whereas imports rank for merchandise trade is 10. And this while we exclude the merchandise trades, exclude India EU trade, if you exclude, the rank actually is 13 for exports and 7 for imports. Especially for commercial services, the rank is 8 for exports and 10 for imports. And similarly, for excluding India EU European Union trade, especially for commercial services, India's rank is 4 in exports, and in imports it is 6. Now, looking at the GDP in US dollar, it is here 2 million. So 716,746 US dollar, and so GDP per capita in US dollar is 1938 from 2016 to 2018. So current account balance in percentage of GDP is minus 2.5. Trade per capita from 2016 to 2018 is 396 only. Trade as a percentage of GDP, trade which counts for export and import in this duration 2016 to 2018 is only 20% of GDP, which could have been even much higher. This is India's turn. These are the sources taken from WTO. So, source here is WTO 2018 report, 2019 report. Now, looking at the merchandise trade, where we have said India's position for merchandise trade is 19, for exports and imports are 10. What it composed of by value in 2018? Merchandise exports and merchandise imports. The values are given here. The annual percentage change is given under this head 2017, 2018 and 2010 to 18. So, annual percentage is only 5 here for exports and 5 also for imports. For 2017 is 13 for exports and 24 here it is imports, here it is exports. First one is exports, second one is imports. So, similarly 2018 exports merchandise trade is 9, annual percentage change, and here it is import is higher. So far as the share in world total exports is concerned, by percentage it is 2.57, and by value it is to 1.67. Now, looking at the breakdown in economies total exports by main commodity group in 2017. And here it is total imports, here it is total exports. So, breakdowns are in terms of agricultural products, manufacturing, fuel and mining and others. The highest here is manufacturing of so far as total exports are concerned, it is 69.6% merchandise trade, and whereas in imports also manufacturing composed of the highest, it is again 52.5%. And followed by exports is fuel and mining products of 16.2, agricultural products only 13.2, whereas here it is given, this is the highest is given, fuel and mining it is of 33.8, those are imported, and we are discussing imports. Now, agricultural product import is 7.4%. Looking at the merchandise trades by main destination in 2018, These are the very latest information of content in WTO reports. This is also too authentic to follow. Now, in main destination 2018, it is highlighted here by others. There are so many countries, then followed by second highest exports. We are discussing exports here in the left panel. So, second highest is actually with European Union. EU is here given, which is of 17.8% of the out of the 100, followed by United States of America 16% exports from India of merchandise trade. Then next best is UAE, United Arab Emirates of 18.9%, and followed by China is of 5.1%. Hong Kong, if we add China and Hong Kong, it is even third highest, 5.1 plus 4.1%. So, this is the part for exports, and the right panel is for imports. Here we are discussing sources again, WTO reports 2019. Now, by main origin of imports, by main origin where it starts, highest is again of 58% from many other countries. Now, the second highest by single individual country is here mentioned as China. So, so far as imports are concerned, we are taking highest amount from China, followed by European Union of 10.2%. So far as merchandise trade is concerned, and so the other countries accordingly follow. The third highest is of United States. Looking at the agriculture product components under WTO, and where India stands under WTO, here are the components, exports and imports. The left panel we are exporting explaining exported products. Here we are explaining top imported products. So, top exported products are rice, meat of bovine animals, frozen animals, meat, cotton, not carded or combed, vegetable saps, extracts, cane or beet sugar. These are the five most important component of our exported products under agriculture head, and all those products are written in certain HS codes, HS standards. Rice HS standard is HS 1006. So, therefore, certain HS classification have already made and have been synchronized. Harmonization standard code have been made to each of the products under WTO. So, there has been less confusion on those products. Similarly, top imports are palm oil and its fractions, soybean oil, sunflower related oil related fat, as we already mentioned, coconut, other nuts are from Arabic countries, especially nut related imports. Now, so far as share in economies trade in agriculture products and its export of agriculture products is concerned, it is around 22% or 20% of world India's total trade, economies trade, and imports consisting of around 25% of the total, and accordingly others can be followed. So far as the non-agriculture products are concerned, here again exports and imports are given. Exportable products are petroleum oil, we have already discussed, diamond, gems and jewelry, and importable products are petroleum oil, crudes, gold, diamonds, coal, petroleum gases, etc. And out of the economies trade, non-agriculture trade consisting of around 16 to 17%, where the imports consisting of 23 to 24% of the total trade of India. Now, looking at the trade in commercial services, we have commercial service exports, imports, again with the same time periods are given. In the share of world total imports, it is of 3.2%, and in the share of world exports, it is of 3.5% in 2018. So far as commercial services is concerned. Now, there are breakdown of economies total exports in commercial services. So, highest services is other commercial services of 17.6%, but better to actually count it for its other head. Other head are actually like highest is here travel is of 14 percent of the total, and followed by transport is of 9.3 services, and lowest is goods and related services, which is of 0.2. Goods related services is only 0.2 out of the total commercial services. So, the imports of services are concerned. Now, highest is of course all other commercial services. There are different heads. If you go through the data of WTO, you will find those details. Now, the highest component is transport, is of 38% in as per the individual heads are concerned, followed by travel, imports, and goods related services are very less. Here is the chart for tariffs and imports, and these are discussed for different MFN bound rates for 2018, 2017, trade weighted average, simple average final bound, different rates are given. And similarly, looking at agriculture product, I mean certain composition related products are also given. For your interest, you may follow for better clarity. Here is the source for tariff and imports by product groups. Any different product groups are given as per the HS classification were given. You can find for your better clarity of understanding. We are not explaining these details because of paucity of time, and if any confusion, we may carry it forward later. Now, let us come to the discussion on trade in value added and global value chain, GVC. Trade in value added, how much component in which year? Here is the data for 2005 and 2015, 2015. The title here is the value added components of gross exports. So, value added component of gross exports under different shades are given. The highest here is by this color, foreign value added content of exports is the highest, 19.1 in 2015 and 18.8 in 2005, followed by domestic value added imported in the economy, which is of so here it is 19.1 is of foreign value added as per the individual content is constant. Domestic value added sent to consumer economy, domestic value added sent to consumer economy is of 69.5% in 2015, whereas 2005 is also it is the highest. And the lowest actually component is of domestic value added re-exported in the economy in both the figure. And so far as the evolution of value added components of gross exports from 2005 and 2015 is concerned, though the font is low, I am reading out. Domestic evolution of value added, domestic value added re-imported in the economy, it is of 13.2% in the gross exports, and as compared to I mean this is in India, and as compared to developing countries, India is the highest as compared to all other economies, developed as well as developing. So, this is followed by developing economies is of 10.1%. So, if we have a comparison of all those 4 heads, here we have 4 head 1, 2, 3, 4 heads, 1, 2, 3, 4 heads. Out of that domestic, though this component in the total export is very less out of the total. So, by comparison among the India with other developing and developed economies, this component is the highest, domestic value added re-imported in the economy. Now, looking at the total export industries, domestic and foreign value added content of exports in 2015, IT services followed by textile, clothing and chemical products is highest. So, similarly, share in say gross exports can be also determined, and total export destinations are United States, top export destinations are United States, China and UK in value added. Global value chain, so forward and backward participation for India, developing economy and developed economy is presented here. As you can infer from the diagram that 34 total global value chain participation is 34 in India, whereas developing economy is 41.4 and 41.4 for developed economies. So, under accordingly you can find out forward GBC participation 2015 and top exports of Indian imports of GBC can be followed. So, similarly you can follow other figures, since we do not have more time to spare for this, we are not emphasizing in detail. Now, to understand India's position in the global trade under WTO, there are various negotiations made, various forms of groups are made. Some of are in force and some of are in accession and some of are in early announcement stage and some of are in negotiation stage. Specially you can look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These 16 RTAs, regional trading agreements with India are in force, and another 2 16 plus 2 are in accession. So, like an AFTA and SAFTA, you can follow it. SAFTA is South Asian Free Trade Agreement, AFTA is Asia Pacific Trade Agreements. Other details are given in this figure. So, and then RTA is for which an early announcement has been made on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this is BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal initiative on multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation, then IFTA India, then EU India, India SACO, these are different groups. In addition to that, India is in groups with various famous groups under WTO are G20 nations, G33, NAMA non-agriculture market access, 11 countries are there. W52 sponsor, Asian developing member countries, these are various groups in force. So, since we are not emphasizing each of the groups, this will be a separate module, and so therefore, we are not emphasizing. You have already received certain notion on India's current engagement of RTAs. You can follow it up from my slides for ASEAN and its FTA, SEPA, SICA negotiations, BIMSTEC FTA, similarly GCC, India Gulf Cooperation Council, then SEPA especially for India Mauritius SEPA, then a PTA on India SACO preferential trade agreements, then Singapore comprehensive economic cooperation agreement also, and in addition that Mercosur, Pakistan agreement, EU agreement, you can follow it from the slides. And in total those agreements are highlighted here are 19. There are some of are in the accession stage, some of are in the negotiation stage. Last one to be emphasized here is to dispute cases involving India. Now, look at so far as United States is concerned, India has raised 11 dispute cases against United States. Now, this is as a complaint from India, and this is as a respondent. Now, India is responding on the complaints of United States, and similarly you can follow it all other possible disputes with other countries. Similarly, for other countries can be easily mapped from the diagram, and the detailed diagram and its detailed clarification can be followed from WTO website. As a complainant there are 24 cases, as a respondent there are 31 cases, as a third party respondent it is 160 cases under WTO. There are other aspects of WTO and in India case on agriculture, special and market access, domestic support, export subsidies. Some of the discussion we already made, I am not discussing in detail. So, therefore, in conclusion what is important, India's stand is very important in different discussions for disputes, for settling related to its provisions. Especially India has been benefited largely from WTO negotiation. There are many potential challenges where India used to harness its benefits. So, therefore, India must be very careful enough in putting its issues before the WTO negotiations, especially its informal sector, and protect it agriculture and SME sector at large are in trouble. They must be given due importance. And so, in detail we have discussed various aspects India's positions and a case study, especially Bangladesh and in India on a music track which has been copied. We have discussed in detail. I think you guys must have understood India's position on WTO. With this I should stop here. Thank you.